Bullying. It's the most common form of violence facing young people in America today. Statistics say that 77% of students are bullied verbally, mentally, or physically. Well, two local men are tackling bullying right here in St. Louis by starting a nonprofit, and we're going to learn more about that organization and how it can help you and your family next on City Corner. Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome to City Corner. Today we're going to be talking about bullying. You pretty much can't turn on the TV, read a newspaper without reading some story of bullying happening across the country. Well, two local men are tackling that problem right here in St. Louis by creating a nonprofit organization to help students and families. I'm joined today by Jermaine Andre and Officer Sean Wade, who are the founders of Teen Bully Response Squad. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
You know, I opened the show with this statistic where 77% of students face some form of bullying. I mean, how does St. Louis, what is the landscape like in St. Louis when it comes to bullying?
I mean, it's pretty heavy. You know, actually, Sean and I have had a few cases that we responded to in St. Louis, and I've been dealing with bullying issues. I have a martial arts school, and as far as the children I train, you know, we deal with a lot of issues like that. The bullying was so bad that I even had to take my time to step back and design a self-defense form for kids to use against bullies. So it's pretty heavy.
Okay,
you know,
well,
it's the main problem you have with it is it's so hidden. It's so hidden that it's hard to find, it's hard to catch, and kids are embarrassed to even stand up to let someone know that they are being bullied.
When you say hidden, do you mean it's not necessarily on the playground kind of thing?
Right, it's seclusive. You know, it happens in the bathrooms. It happens on the internet. I mean, that's one of the main places that it happens. You know, it happens in these places where kids are away from adults.
Okay, well, let's talk about Teen Bully Response Squad. What is the organization? When was it started? Tell me a bit more about it.
Well, the organization has been going for a little bit over a year right now. And when I came up with this whole philosophy of Teen Bully Response Squad, I had to do my research. I was working on some other independent projects. I like to write and, you know, do some things. I have a creative side to me. And at the point I was working on some other shows and some books that I'm, like I said, in the process of doing. Like you said, it wasn't a day going by that it was in the news that a kid was committing suicide or there was a school shooting, you know, related to, you know, bullying. So I had to say, hey, let me stop all this. I stopped all the writing, all the independent things I was doing, kind of like Jermaine was saying, you got to push back from some of the personal things you're working on sometimes and find out, hey, what is going on? So at that point, I started researching like every school shooting. I started researching every suicide that was going on. And that's what I came up with. I noticed one common element, that there was a lack of response. So that's how the whole breath of life of Teen Bully Response Squad came to life. Okay. And when it came to life, this was something I knew I could not do by myself. And that's when I forged more partnerships, such as Jermaine Andre, my co-founder, and we have Marlon Warden, who also has 2 degrees in counseling. And whatever we do, we go in more of a team effort, a team philosophy in order to affect change, not only for the bullies, but not only for the victims, but the bullies as well. Okay, so we're looking at some photos from one of the events that you had, and we're going to come up to some photos of Jermaine, you doing martial arts with the students that you work with. So what is that component? Tell me more about the role that you play with the organization and how martial arts is a part of the organization that you founded.
Actually, when my main involvement with the bullying started, a mom came to me, and her son was being bullied. He was being bullied because they were prominent. You know, he had all the good stuff, so all of the kids who didn't have the good stuff were picking on him. They actually jumped him and filmed it on their cell phones and posted it all over the internet. So she came to me and she had tried everything. She had said she spent, you know, about $20,000, $30,000 on counseling, and they could not get through to their son. So she said, is there anything you can do? I said, you better believe it. You know, I said, put him on the floor with me. You know, so we started training him. You know, when you train in the martial arts that I instruct, the way that I instructed, you know, discipline, confidence, respect, those are prerequisites. You know, that's immediate demand. Plus, you learn how to fight. how to defend yourself, how to defend people you care for. So this is always going to give you a good feeling inside. Well, this kid, after 3 months, he actually fought in a national grappling tournament for our team, and he went and did very well. So now he's moved on, and he's actually in college, studying to become a doctor. So when this happened, of course, more issues came, and I realized that, wow, I didn't know this was that bad. And then at this moment, Sean contacted me because we actually used to work out together down at Gold's Gym, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, right.
And he said, hey, man, this bullying stuff is going crazy, Jermaine. I need somebody with me to, this and that. Are you down? I said, man, you better believe it. Let's do this, So that's what brought us together. But where I fit in is bullying will always exist, and it's not a person, it's a behavior. And it's behavior that we all can do, taking a remote from my sister, cutting somebody off in traffic. So I try to bring the element of confidence that, look, if you, take care of your fitness, eat correctly, keep yourself in shape, practice the martial arts where you can learn how to have the confidence so you don't feel like you have to pick on others. And then secondly, if a bully does target you, you can respond correctly. Even if of course the bully's trying to hurt you, nobody wants their kid. I don't want my kid to get her teeth kicked in by a bully.
Right.
So she knows how to protect herself, but not to the point where she's going to introduce a weapon and hurt somebody too bad.
What are the age group of students that you're working with?
Oh, we deal from 5 and up.
Yeah.
We'll deal even with adults, but of course, our children are our main issue. But bullying usually starts about age 5. We have had some come to us at age 4, 3 years old. But I usually say, look, go tell the teacher. This is daycare. Go let the teacher know, and they should be able to separate that and slow that down.
Right.
And that's one of the unique things that we do. We try to address some of the more serious and aggressive natures of bullying. I think what a lot of people fail to realize, when kids get into the act of committing a suicide or bringing a weapon to school because of bullying, it's an ongoing conflict. For an example, we're working a case right now with a young lady out of state named Heaven. This is her first name. She's out of state. And she's been bullied for the same girls for almost 3 years right now. And when trying to get conflicts resolved, there's no bullying case that's just going to be resolved 1, 2, 3. I compare bullying like it's like a ticking time bomb. It's differences of people all mangled up. And it takes time to work with people in order to dismantle it before it explodes. If you don't get the adequate response via police, via martial arts experts, via counselors, this thing is going to keep on festering. So my thing is, let's be unique about it, let's be proactive about it, and let's get young people connected with positive experiences. And the positive experiences is martial arts. It could be fitness, training kids, getting them in shape. We have the STEP team with Marlon Warden. We teach discipline through the stepping. So whatever we can do to give kids opportunities to get them going in the right direction, that's what we want to do. So it's about getting there, it's about the response, and it's about looking at the adequate assessment on how can we change this situation before it ends in a tragedy.
So for parents watching the show who might think, or just be wondering if their child is getting bullied, because we all know our children don't really come home after school and tell us everything that happens. Some do, some don't. What are signs that parents should look for or be, cognizant of, just in case they think their child might be bullying and they're not telling them?
Well, you can look for things like missing articles, missing money, missing jewelry, missing clothing. If they seem, like they're pulling away from the family, depressed, bad hygiene. They seem to stop caring about how they look. No friends, staying at home, don't want to go to school, bad grades, because that's something too. I had actually one of my students who's a pro fighter now. Back when he was a child, he was bullied, and he had bad grades because he would skip school. He would skip class because he didn't want to get bullied. His parents thought he was just a bad student. So then his parents, acted out at him. And so, this is something that bothered him all the way up to adulthood, where I had to deal with him on that in the fight game and let him know that, man, it wasn't you. It was these guys, and we had to break through that. But now he's a professional fighter. He's on top of the world, fighting for Bellator. So those types of signs is any kind of changes in your child, and one of the main ones is, I tell parents all the time, be involved with your child's friends, be involved with your child's school. You should kind of have a feeling of what's going on there, and you should be known that you're around. That helps.
Right. And for students too. I mean, someone who might be watching the show and they are being bullied. Do people just call you? I mean, do they contact you? Do you have to be? Are you working with schools? What if a student sees this? They are being bullied. They want some assistance. Is the organization equipped or set up that someone can just call you and directly interact with the services
we're
that
set
you
up.
provide?
You have the 800 number that that can be contacted if someone needs us. We do have a website set up, Teen Bully Response Squad, and then also we're on Facebook. Believe it or not, we get a lot of requests via Facebook
from students individually?
Students, parents, it doesn't make a difference. And we talk to people all over the world. We've sent martial art DVDs as far as Toronto, Canada.
Really?
We've sent DVDs to California. We've sent DVDs to Maryland. So we got a few initial things going already to start our grassroots movement to help people. And we want to keep expanding, and eventually, like I said, if it's that real serious case where we can come in, like I mentioned, the young girl with Heaven, if our team could fly into Thurmont, Maryland, and not only work with this young lady, but work with the bullies. You know, like I said, people are missing. Bullying is ongoing. You know, if the kid kills us, you're looking at 2, 3, 4 years, and that's one of the biggest things you're going to see. I've been getting bullied for years, and nobody did anything. So we have to get our ears a lot more attentive and start listening to the cries of our children and being able to get in position that where if this child's saying, hey, I've been getting bullied and I'm not getting help from the school, I'm not getting help from the counselors, what can we do? Well, hey, you contact Teen Bully Response Squad, and we'll most definitely jump in with getting some type of resources behind this parents, behind the family, in order to bring a peaceful resolve. And that's what we want to do. You know, it's whatever steps we can take to help reduce the suicides and reduce someone saying, hey, I need to get a weapon in order to get this. We have to change that. And we have to start getting more proactive and more aggressive in order to bring these numbers down. Because if you look at the stats also with suicide, it's skyrocketing now. It's literally out of control. So
while you're talking, I was looking for the stat that I have where it's about teachers, and I wanted to bring up teachers because it's something about, you know, teachers not seeing it or thinking bullying, seeing it in the same way that the student sees it or the parent sees it and not necessarily doing anything about it. Tell me about your interaction with teachers. And it's not to say that principals and teachers aren't, but they assess it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I have a strong opinion on that. We have to be very careful. The bullying word is getting tossed around, you know, and it's becoming a fad. You know, we have to be really careful of who we accuse of bullying. We have to be careful of who we accuse of allowing bullying to happen. Teachers and principals are trained to educate. They're educators. They're not trained to deal with this bullying thing. This is new to them. They don't understand it. And a lot of these teachers, you know, are afraid of the bullies. A lot of them intimidate the teachers. And when the teacher's sitting there trying to focus on academics and assuring that this kid is learning, they're not trained to, you know, look for this bullying stuff. And like I said, it's so seclusive and so hidden, it can be hard. So that's why Teen Bully Response Squad, we are trained for that. And that's what we're saying, the importance of bringing us into the school. We're not coming to say to the school, you're not doing your job.
Right.
You don't know what you're doing. We're saying, man, we're here to support you. We understand that you're trying to focus on your job. You know, Sean is here to focus on this. I'm here to focus on boosting the confidence. We're here to focus on bringing these kids together and delivering the message that you're trying to deliver, because every school has some type of anti-bully program. You know, but we're here to bring and say, boom, we're the task force. We are the ones who are coming in strong.
Do you think that, I mean, essentially bullying is some extension of violence to a certain extent. I mean, do you think a lot of the problems that we're facing now, especially the high numbers, and again, these stats that are just like, are really just pretty out there, you know, I mean, they're so high in terms of the number of students who are being bullied. Do you think it's a reflection of violence in American culture? Do you think this is an American issue or a Western issue? I mean, how do you...
Because like I said, we talk to people all over the world. Just as late, a couple of days ago, I was just sharing with Jermaine from my Facebook page, we were talking to a young man from the Philippines. You know, he's getting severely bullied, and he left a message and said the only thing he can do is come home and cry at night. So we talked to people in Australia, and as I mentioned, Canada. We talk to people from all over. So this is not just a St. Louis thing or something in California. No, this is something where suicides are going on all over the world because of bullying. And once you tie in social media, well, then you started to intensify. The way I look at social media, it's kind of like society. We have to have police officers in order to regulate what goes on in society. Well, unfortunately, when you begin talking about Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, there is really no law enforcement element regulating what's going on. So if I want to type up these messages, go kill yourself, a point example, I'm going to reference back to Heaven. Actually trying to get her some type of assistance, I had to contact the Thurmont Sheriff's Office back in December, because she contacted us and said, hey, I'm now getting death threats. You know, they're telling me to kill me. Why is this going on with me? So the best thing I could do at that time in order to get her some type of help was get the local police involved, which they did get involved. However, if we fast forward up to March, she still sent us another message saying, I'm still getting picked on every day.
I mean, social media really complicates this issue because in our generation, there was bullying, but it didn't have this complexity. You didn't have digital files, photos, things that lived on the internet really for an infinite amount of time. I mean, what are you seeing? You mentioned Instagram, Facebook. What type of bullying do you see online with students?
Well, like I said, just mentioned, I think kids have moved to another level. I can remember the times of when we were growing up, we would never wish death on another student.
Right. You might pick on each other and get in a fist fight, but they're your best friends.
We never want to see another child hurt or kill themselves. Now it has become a trend, and we were talking to another young lady that actually she lost her son, Dylan, and he had wanted to commit suicide. And what happened? They're calling it like baiting now, and the crowd actually cheered this young man to death, and he actually jumped. So now you have a lot of children, instead of having compassion and sympathy for one another, they just simply don't have that. So that's what I'm saying, the uniqueness about TBRS. When we come in, we're looking, the greatest thing you can give a young person is your time. We're not looking to come in and just give an hour speech and we're out the door. You know, we're looking to come in and build relationships. We're looking to come in and bring connections to young people. We want to come in and bring positive experiences. And whatever that positive experience it may be, like I said, I reference it back to the great thing of martial arts, fitness, science, and arts. We have to get kids focused back on their education. There's so much stuff going on. They're so clouded with so many other things. I think kids are forgotten. When you come to school to learn. And we need to get kids back on track and getting them focused back on the primary goal, and that's to get education so you can move on to college and preferably move on to be a productive citizen in society.
And I want to go back to what you asked earlier. Yeah, I definitely believe that, what we put out in movies, music, I mean, how many curse words can you say on the radio, local radio nowadays that you couldn't say 10 years ago? Entertainment is about what can I do to draw attention that you couldn't do. So kids are desensitized, all these I mean, I know so many kids that are 8 years old who've watched rated R movie, who've seen Saw and Hostel, and I'm like, why are you even watching that? When I watch it, I have to go and watch something else, like, watch Disney movies to clear my mind. So kids are getting confused on, what's right and what's wrong. They're getting desensitized. And it's just, like I say, one of the things we're seeing in the schools is either you're on the bully side or you're on the victim side. And people are choosing to go to the bully side. So what we're trying to do is bring back the strength, that there is a strength in being a respectable, decent person. And that's one of the things that I like. When Sean chose me, he said, I'm choosing an MMA fighter. And everybody would say, well, why would you pick an MMA fighter? Well, first, I'm not just MMA fighter, I'm a martial artist. So I respect and discipline is everything, but he knew the impact that MMA is so popular and everybody's looking at it in a crazy, wild way that I'm gonna draw attention. When they say, he said, we got Hall of Famer, MMA world champ Jermaine Andre here, UFC vet, everybody's gonna look at me and say, well, they're expecting me to go crazy and act like everything they're seeing on TV. And I'm saying, guys, that's not it. That's gonna have an impact on the kids and the children to want to follow that lead. Because
you're really essentially equipping them with the ability, on one end, to physically sort of protect themselves, but also the self-esteem to handle these issues as they present themselves.
And it helps build respect too, because when they come to see the friendship that we have, and not only friendship, you talk about the great mutual respect we have. Even though I'm a police officer, I mean, he's twice I wouldn't in my right mind try to fight Jermaine. I think vice versa. When he's MMA, and we actually kind of tease each other sometimes. Man, you a cop. I would never go to return. You carry a gun and knife, taser. So it's great when you can see people that sit at the top of the anarchy like this and saying, hey, it's okay to respect law enforcement. It's okay to respect, martial artists. So even though you may be the biggest, baddest person in the school, you can still respect others. And that's the thing that we often employ if we get to talk with some of the football players and things like that. Even though you might be the biggest linebacker, the biggest running back, respect your fellow classmates. You don't have to knock the books out their hand and do things of that nature. And I think with me being a police officer and the respect that Jermaine has with martial arts, I think it helps the kids to tune in a little bit more and say, hey, you know what? I think they're right,
Well, I commend you guys for starting this organization, because I really, as a parent, I know that this is something that frightens, so many parents, and for students, it's frightening to deal with. So I do commend you for starting that. And for people at home, we have the information about Team Bully Response Squad. I want to thank Officer Wade for being here. We're going to keep Jermaine here because joining us is going to be a student of Jermaine's, and he's going to talk about his experience in learning martial arts and how it's helped him protect himself and deal with bullying. Please stay with us on City Corner.
Your fairy godmother?
It doesn't take a fairy godmother to tell you that the right fit means everything. Especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose one that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
Oh, that does make a difference.
Remember, their happily ever afters are in your hands. To find out more, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
Abandoned and lost. From the dark, cold streets of the city to a cage in the local shelter, to heaven, your lap.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 132.
That's how many batters struck out 4 times in one game last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's how many kids witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
That's not a good stat.
No, it's not, but it can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. Today we've been talking about bullying, and specifically an organization that was started to tackle bullying in the St. Louis area. It's called Team Bully Response Squad. We're continuing the segment and continuing the show with Jermaine Andre, who's one of the co-founders, and we're joined by Nicholas Pauk, who is a student of Jermaine, so thank you for being here. So in the first half of the show, we were really talking about the organization, talking about bullying in general, nationally and even here in St. Louis, and you were talking about martial arts and the roles that it plays with the organization and the work. Tell me about Nicholas, how he's a student of yours, and how that correlates with what you've been teaching him and bullying, and dealing with bullying.
Nicholas, you've been training under me how long?
3 years, 3.5 years.
3.5 years. When his parents, one of the most important things is that, his parents brought him to us. So he has good family support, which allows me to be able to train him correctly. Mm-hmm. But when he was brought to me, he was a little overweight. He was shy, not a lot of confidence, and he stayed dedicated. He trained really hard. He's actually fought for us twice in a national grappling tournament. So the idea that I'm bringing is awareness, confidence, and calmness is what I like to say. You want to sum up what we're teaching. Kids to be aware of who they are and who the people around them are, and to build confidence inside themselves. So if something does happen, they can respond, appropriately, and to have calmness. So when they get nervous, you get afraid, you get mad, you get angry, you know how to calm yourself down. So all of this training is, what it does is it creates a kid like him who not only does he not have to worry about being bullied, but if a bully does approach him, he knows how to respond correctly, and he's got stories where he's even stepped up to the bullies.
Yeah, so Nicholas, tell me how this has helped you, how the training has helped you.
Well, I have a lot more confidence than I used to be. Like, usually when I see them, I used to just walk by and not really think about helping them. But now, whenever I see them, I walk up to them, I'm just like, settle down. Like, you guys could be friends. You don't need to be this violent.
And how do they respond to you when you say that?
Well, they know I do mixed martial arts with Master Chief, and they don't really act like they're doing anything. They just back off and they're just like, whatever, just walk off.
Before you had the training, how would you have responded to a situation like that? Or when someone was maybe teasing you, how did you respond? You just ignored it, or?
Yeah, I'd usually not say anything. I'd just walk away from it. I didn't want any trouble.
But now you feel pretty confident to kind of address the issue.
Yeah.
So would you encourage when other friends of yours probably continue to get bullied or teased, I mean, do you encourage them to kind of take up martial arts?
Yeah, I'm like, you guys are welcome to come here and train. It's not something that you have to like be like a certain way to start.
No experience necessary. Is what you tell them.
What's
That's
probably,
right.
if you had to think of the most, so far, sort of the best or most valuable thing you've learned, what would you say that is?
Probably all of it, technically. I just
Learning the moves, actually learning martial arts, but the confidence too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's probably taught you too about are you careful too? Are you more mindful of not bullying other students when you see something happening that could turn into what might be bullying another student?
Yeah, I think about it before I do it. I just don't like run in there and start yelling at the guy.
No, that's great. I mean, this is pretty what Nicholas is
Well,
saying, standard of your students, right?
Definitely, if you look at it, he's kind of like my ninja. You know, in this situation, because bullying is an enemy, not the bully, but the attitude, the thought, the behavior. You know, and when you can take somebody like him and get him trained like he is, and we stick him out there, you know, other kids are going to see that, and they're going to look up to him, and they're going to start to behave that way. They're going to, and that's where the key to this bullying thing is through the youth.
Right.
You know, we got to get the youth wanting to stop this and wanting to create a team that's going to stop it. And that's what Team Bully Response Squad is about. You know, we're taking the front line. You know, myself and Officer Wade are taking the front line, saying, man, we're here. We got your back. You don't have to be afraid anymore. But you got to be with us too.
Right.
You got to help us also, parents, you know, teachers, principals. You know, we all got to come together, the whole village.
Speaking of coming together, I want to be sure that you have a special event coming up in June at Six Flags. You've partnered with Six Flags. So tell me a bit about that before we wrap up the show so people can, if they're interested, come out to actually meet you and learn more about this.
Well, Mark Blumenfield is partnering up Six Flags with us. And yeah, we're going to have an anti-bullying event. It's going to be great. You know, we haven't finished the planning, but you can go to, of course, to our Facebook page and our website, TBRS website, to find out more information about it. But we definitely want everybody to come out today. It's going to be awesome.
Well, Nicholas, thank you for being here, for missing school to come here, and to just share some information. I think it's important, and congratulations on the progress that you've made and the steps that you've made. And I just wish you all the best with school and moving forward. And thank you, Jermaine, for being here. And thank you at home for watching. Again, for more information on Team Bully Response Squad, you can go to our website, and we'll have a link to their site, or you can check them out at teambullyresponsesquad.org or call 866-588-2411. Thanks again to our guests, and thank you at home for watching, and please keep it here on STL TV Experience St. Louis.